What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, The Real Rant Reviewer. Thank you for joining me, your best friend right here. Me and you are going to discuss this awesome movie called The Deer Hunter. I believe, what year is The Deer Hunter, guys? 1978. The Deer Hunter, starring Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, and Christopher Walken. Guys, this movie, you might not know about it. I don't know if you... this is just my description. Spoilers ahead. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the movie, and then we'll do the plot, wrap this awesome rant up. I didn't know much about this movie. I saw it come on TV, the beginning scenes mostly, and just skipped over it constantly for years. Eventually, though, I saw the movie in full, and holy shit! Ever since seeing it in full, I couldn't believe it was this good. I should have waited around because the first half of the movie is slow as fuck. But when you get to the part to the middle and to the end, wow, that's how a movie should be. And I just didn't give it a chance like I should have, and I'm glad I did. And this movie, years later, I watch it anytime it's on. What a performance by Christopher Walken and Robert De Niro. And this ending scene that you're looking at, intense like nothing you'll ever see in cinema, like you'll ever see in life. And these two best friends, and with life on the line, with death a split second away, guys. It's fucking hard to explain. And that scene, look at De Niro doing it for his friend. That's how much he loves his. I'm gonna cry. Fucking movies, guys. Great movies. Awesome rant. Just like De Niro, we're gonna cry because he's doing it for his friend. He's showing his friend how much he loves him, that he's willing to die for him, and he wants him to come back. So, guys, let's get into the plot before I start tearing up more. But, guys, the cinematography, great. It's great scenery and beginning to look at. There's great characters. You kind of connect with them. They're a buddy. They go to war as buddies. Some of them do, some of them don't. There's a love interest here between Walken and De Niro. Of course, it's Mrs. Streep. And, Streep wants De Niro secretly, but is in love with Walken. And Walken's in love with her, but she's content with that, see? But De Niro loves Meryl Streep, you could tell, and Streep does love De Niro, but they just can't be together because of the circumstances of the timing, and Christopher Walken not wanting to hurt Mr. Walken. And it's just a very complicated situation. Those are situations we might find ourselves in every day, and not make the right choice like De Niro does. He does make the right choice in not pursuing Mrs. Streep no matter what. But we find out what happens to the group of friends because they are called into Vietnam. And when they're called into Vietnam, guys, you see how De Niro fights, and they're eventually captured, though. De Niro Walken and a friend of his. And they are subdued and to torture, which I'm sure happened. I'm sure it did. What have you. And the torture, though, goes into gunplay, where there's Russian roulette is being played between these Vietnamese soldiers and Mr. De Niro and Walken. Mr. De Niro here, even though he is a prisoner with no power or control, he does have some sort of power control over his men and over the situation. He's able to convince them and motivate them to just do what is said for the best of their lives, to get them out of the situation alive for the meantime. So he's able to coach them and motivate them to stay alive, and tell them tips on how to do it, since they cannot communicate properly with the other soldiers back and forth. And he's able to actually control the soldiers too, and he's able to do this in such a way that he's able to pull off a very good escape. But before that, like I said, this is so intense. You see this with Walken, and this is what breaks Mr. Walken down. It breaks his character down. He's not able to recover like Mr. De Niro is able to recover. And we'll see that, but the difference, even though going through the same traumatic situation, two people could be different, handle it different, as we see here in The Deer Hunter, guys. And The Deer Hunter referring to Mr. De Niro, who is a deer hunter before he goes into Vietnam, and he's a man hunter, a deer hunter, period. He's just a hunter, man. He's the man. And but he has feelings, his feelings. So yeah, this part here, so he convinces people to do it by doing it himself, by being an example, and telling them about the hunts. That's right, telling them about the deer hunts they went on. Giving them good memories to pull it off, to pull the trigger on themselves. That in case they died, they had something to think about nicely when they died. So, Mr. De Niro, props off to you. I don't know the rest of the movie or wrote it. I don't give a fuck. It's just all about the actors here, guys, in this movie. Bottom line. The plot is great, but it's the actors that make it come to life. So, wow. We get to that point where De Niro pulls off an escape. He's able to do it. He kill all the soldiers and escape. And then they go back to America. But Mr. Walken doesn't. He stays behind at a hospital and he disappears. A couple months or a year later or something like that. Months go by, whatever. No word from Mr. Walken. And De Niro is home, and he's home, and he wants to check up on people he's seen, and nothing's really the same. He's never the same. He's not the same. Meryl Streep is asking about Mr. Walken and where he is, and she doesn't have an answer. He hasn't come back, or he's not coming back. He's there. He's staying in Vietnam. Uh, so De Niro, you follow him his return to life, and he still doesn't approach Miss Meryl Streep, which is very, very good. I think he does. They go to a hotel, guys, and do something, or they try to do something, but he can't. So it's a good dynamic, good side scene, guys, to keep the movie going. Very good side story. I like it. I like the detour, the addition, because Meryl Streep's a great actress, no doubt, especially at this time. So, anyways, that happens, and then he visits a guy at the hospital, one of his old friends, and he asks him where Walken's is, and he tells him where Walken is. So De Niro finally goes to Vietnam, where Walken is, and you see him here. He finds him here. He's in a Russian roulette game, guys, and he's getting paid to do it. Gambling on life. So Walken, next contestant is Mr. De Niro. Mr. De Niro convinces the leader there to let him step in and play Russian roulette against Mr. Walken for life or death. And they go back and forth. Now, guys, this has got to be an Academy Award-winning scene. It's hard to talk about or think about without getting emotional. So Mr. De Niro here pulls off just the friend that you always wanted. The friend that you should always have. And if you don't have a friend like this, guys, that acts like this or reacts like this in this movie, you should get rid of him. He's not your friend. Or you should be alone. So anyways, they go back and forth. They pull the trigger on each other. No bullets go off. But the whole time, Mr. De Niro was telling Mr. Walken to stop doing this and come home. And this is the part where he tells him about, remember when we went deer hunting and we went in the mountains, and trying to tell him we could be there. We're going to be there. Remember how it was. That's how it can be again. Trying to convince Mr. Walken to not pull the trigger. By this time, Mr. De Niro had pulled the trigger already once. Maybe twice, my recollection. But now it was Walken's turn again. And he was trying to convince Walken. And the thing about De Niro is, the deer hunter, he knows about guns. So I'm sure he knew the bullet was ready and where it was. Maybe. Either way, he convinces. He can't convince Mr. Walken, even with the memories and images and telling about his girl back home in the mountains. And Mr. Walken says something, guys. I forget what it was, but I remember Mr. Walken's expression is sad. It's like happy sad. It's kind of like the last moment of life when you think of something, the memory that makes you so happy, but then again you're sad because it's the last memory you're going to have. You're going to die. Mr. Walken says something, and I think he thinks of those moments that De Niro is speaking of, and he pulls the trigger. Because I think Mr. Walken knows that it'll never be that for him anymore after what his life detoured, going to Vietnam, experiencing it. So he pulls the trigger, the gun goes off, and it goes off and kills Mr. Walken instantly, killing him in the head, as you see here. And Mr. De Niro picks up Mr. Walken. A great emotional scene where he cries over his dead friend. And it's a weird scene because there's, like, as you see these people standing around for gambling. I'm sorry, I'm crying. It's just stupid. I'm crying on a fucking review. They're standing around gambling, and Mr. De Niro is cuddling his friend for the last time and is upset about it. So, alright, so that's the end of the movie, guys. The Deer Hunter, excuse me. It is a very good movie. Oscar performance indeed. Oscar winning movie. Please see the movie. Good music, by the way, too, guys, at a couple scenes I forgot to mention. Sorry for choking up. And thank you for joining me for this awesome rant review.